everyone. This is Fireside Yankees. I'm Ryan Garcia, and next to me is Chris Drew. And today, we've got a really fun episode for you guys, and we're going to be doing our minor league awards for the Yankee system for the 2025 season. We have 4 awards to hand out, and then we're going to do something for the 5th category that's a little more geared for the 2026 season. There was a lot of really good players to look at, a lot of really fun seasons to break down, but ultimately, we only picked one winner for each award. We'll have some honorable mentions we'll shout out because at the end of the day, it's really hard to nail it down to one player when you have so many different players and so many different angles to look at players from. This is way more subjective than if we did this for the major league level. But Chris, before we get into everything, how you doing today and how you feeling about this award show?
Really good, man. You know, I will never shy away from a chance to talk about minor league baseball. I'm one of the sickos that is obsessed with minor league baseball, actually. And, you know, growing up in Akron, it was always so accessible to go. So I'm excited, man. I love minor league baseball. So I'm excited to kind of chop it up about some prospects, about the future.
Yeah, man. And I'll say this. It is a much more fun year to do it for than last year because this year there were a lot more just good years. There were a lot more years of guys who you can recognize, guys who emerged as top prospects or entered the year as a top prospect that put together a legitimately good season instead of putting themselves in a situation where it's like, oh, well, that guy was hurt and that guy was hurt and that guy was hurt, et cetera, et cetera. But let's just jump right into this because we're going to start out with our minor league hitter of the year for the Yankee organization. And Chris, I think you and I agree this was a pretty easy one to pick, and that is Spencer Jones, center fielder who played at both the AA and AAA level. He hit 35 home runs. That was the most for any hitter in the Yankee organization, the second most for any minor league hitter this season. He had the highest WRC plus for any prospect in the organization at 153. He was an absolute machine at the plate. He crushed tons of home runs. He hit for a pretty good average at 274. Fun fact, he hit 274 at both AA and AAA. It didn't deviate at all. He had a good on-base percentage, 362, and overall, it was a really strong year and an important bounce-back year for Spencer Jones. Chris, what did you see from him this year, and what was there to take away for you?
I mean, he mashed. The swing decisions were there. He is a pretty effortless power, and I think he understood that, okay, like, I'm going to swing and miss a good amount, so I'm not going to not swing at first pitches. Like if there's a strike early for me, I'm going to go get it instead of trying to be defensive. And I felt like he was way more aggressive this year, and that resulted in more balls being lifted and honestly, like, more power. And when you watch Spencer Jones, or I don't know, when I watch Spencer Jones, there's a couple times where I didn't think he got a pitch. I thought he honestly just lazy fly balled a pitch, and then the left fielder is still going backwards. So he tweaked his stance a lot. He tried to find, get comfortable, had a couple of huge games. I mean, without a doubt, like, the best hitter, not just in the Yankees minor league, but I would say across all of AA and AAA, he was the best hitter, personally.
Yeah, and you talk about the ability to take the ball out at any part of the ballpark. I think that's such an important aspect of his game now. He hit the ball in the air so frequently this past season that he was able to hit a ridiculous amount of home runs. Last year, he plays 122 minor league games. He ends up under the 20 home run threshold. I believe it was 17 in total.
Yep.
And it's not that 17 home runs in 122 games is awful. It's just that that's not good enough for someone like Spencer Jones, who a big part of his game, a big part of his ability to contribute offensive value is going to stem from his ability to hit the long ball. This year, he more than doubles that mark, and he plays fewer games. He plays partially in AAA. There was that slowdown in the last 2 months of the year where he couldn't really make a bunch of contact. He didn't hit as many home runs, but I do think the back spasms did play a bit of a role in that. I do wonder how we see Spencer Jones continue to adjust and adapt in 2026, but for this past year, Jones reestablished his value as one of the better prospects, not just in the Yankee organization, but in all of baseball. He reestablished himself as someone who's in the conversation for an outfield spot in 2026. And most importantly to me, I think it just gives him confidence. I think there's a greater deal of criticism that's been given to Spencer Jones as a prospect than maybe any other prospect. And look, it's not that he's not a flawed prospect. As I've said here, as I've said on social media, he is a flawed hitter. He is someone who's very boom or bust. There is that chance that he goes out there and hits 190 and strikes out 40% of the time, and you sit back and you go, this isn't a good enough hitter, even with his ability to play center field at a pretty solid rate. But there's that outcome where he's a good enough hitter, and I don't know if there's as much pressure on the bat as people are trying to make this out to be. I consistently have had the thought of, if he's a league average hitter, which I'm not sure what the odds are of that, but if he is, he's going to be a good center fielder. He's going to be a good everyday center fielder who helps you win baseball games. Maybe not a star, but definitely a good player. Chris, any final thoughts on Spencer Jones and not just his 2025 season, but his future outlook as a potential big leaguer?
I think he is viewed as like super unfairly. I think because of like the size and because on draft day, sounds a lot like left-handed Aaron Judge. Because of that, I think he is viewed kind of, very unfairly. Because here we go, Ryan. Every prospect from the time they're in single A, you and I watch them a lot, and a lot of people watch them, and they get a chance to kind of correct and improve. Even with Spencer Jones, he made huge strides correction-wise. And still, he doesn't get viewed as someone who improved. He almost gets viewed as someone who just got lucky and just started hitting the ball, like lifting the ball in the air.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned that conversation about the comparisons to Aaron Judge have done so much harm to Spencer Jones' reputation. I think if you're analyzing Spencer Jones, if you're a fan listening to this podcast right now and you go, what should I be thinking of Spencer Jones? Spencer Jones is a good prospect. Spencer Jones has the ability to be a pretty amazing player because of how well-rounded his ability to contribute value is. But being a successful prospect doesn't mean being Aaron Judge.
Right.
There's a line between, there's no one else like Aaron Judge in Major League Baseball. We haven't seen someone this good offensively since Barry Bonds. So we have to kind of take that expectation. We have to just crush it, crumble it up, put it away for any prospect. It's unfair to put on any prospect's ledger. An MVP, that's unfair to put on any prospect's expectation for success. But for Spencer Jones, I think it's a much more realistic path for success than you could have envisioned going into the 2025 season. There was a point, I think, during 2024, where you could have sat back and said, I think maybe the Yankees have to kind of bail here.
Yeah, it's over.
Trade,
no,
go cash in on the value. You're like, I don't want to draw this comparison in the sense of I think he's the same kind of prospect or player, but the Yankees cashed in on Trey Sweeney relatively quickly. It was 3 years after they drafted him. No, not even they didn't. He wasn't there to start the 2024 season. It was two full minor league years, and then they traded him. They realized, hey, he's probably not going to be a starting caliber player for a contender. We've got to cash in. There was that point in time with Spencer Jones after year 2 as well.
There was. I mean, when you have an OPS, I believe, under 700 and you're 6'7", you're supposed to be like a super mash. Like, that could be really, really frustrating. What did you make of some of the stuff mid-year that kind of came up around Spencer Jones when people would compare him to, like, Owen Cassie? That's the Cubs' top prospect. You said what?
It's either Cassie or Casey. I don't even know.
Yeah, Owen Casey. We'll call him Owen Casey. That's the Cubs kid who ended up getting called up, and people said he was a world's better prospect, even though his swing and miss numbers were higher than Spencer's without the power numbers.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I think that what separates Spencer Jones from really any outfield prospect of, not any, but most good outfield prospects, most of those like 50 FV guys, it's the fact that this guy can play center field, and I think he can really play center field. I draw the comparison sometimes with him and like Minateka Murakami to say, hey guys, I don't really see the value in paying like $100 million from Minateka Murakami when there's a lot of risk there. The difference between him and Murakami, maybe you could argue Murakami's a better offensive profile. Spencer Jones can be a league average hitter. He is a good player. If Murakami's a league average hitter, he's not a good player. He's a first baseman. For a lot of positions, being a league average hitter isn't good enough. Left field, right field, first base. I'd even argue, DH obviously, but you could go as far as to say you don't really want a league average hitter at third base. Maybe you want to do better unless you're an outlier defender. Spencer Jones, I think he has the ability to be a great defensive center fielder. He has the ability to be a very good power hitter, and he's a very good runner as well. He stole 29 bases this year. I think it was only caught 6 times, if I'm not mistaken. Again, it was the kind of year that Spencer Jones needed to have. This was the threshold. He needed to be hitter of the year kind of guy in order for us to sit here and continue to have the conversations of him potentially being an impact player for the Yankees down the road. But Chris, on that note, I think it's time to switch it up to the pitcher of the year. Now, again, these are 2 very self-explanatory awards. I wrote descriptions in our little doc explaining
I did notice.
And it's like, you're just saying the thing you're saying, but in a longer form. And I thought this one was another consensus pick here, although there was some honorable mentions that we'll get to. Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, easy winner, right? Very easy winner this year. Innings pitched, strikeouts led in both, really good ERA, good combination of swing and miss and ground balls. Chris, this is one of our favorite prospects to talk about. Why don't you talk to me about ERC's 2025 year?
Pitchability, more velo than expected, and going to project. I mean, I think we'll see him in the big leagues next year, Ryan. Like, I think he's incredible. I'm a huge fan. He reminds me sometimes of Will Warren, but I think he's got more of an uptick in velocity. And he's a guy that, like, in the big games, in the big moments in Double-A, I mean, he outpitched Jonah Tong, and that lineup was better than the Double-A lineup for Somerset that game. Like, we're talking about someone who went toe-to-toe with a guy who ended up pitching in the majors, who the Mets asked to honestly pitch in big games down the stretch to hopefully make the playoffs. Like, that is who Elmer Rodriguez-Cruz looked better than.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me in ERC is you make the comparison to Will Warren. Will Warren, number one, put together a year this past year where he was a quality, like, number 4, number 5 starting pitcher for the New York Yankees. ERC's switch in terms of where you would put the sliders, Chris, if you wanted to kind of compare this to MLB The Show, you dial back the movement,
right?
Uptick the velocity.
The
it's a pretty significant gap in velocity. Granted, also a significant gap in sweeper movement, in sinker movement. But I think I would rather have the higher velo with less movement because these two pitchers ended up similarly in terms of stuff plus scores if you normalize it for minor league environments.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather have the velocity because I think the velocity is going to help with damage prevention. Something that ERC did so well this year was keep the ball in the yard. He keeps the ball on the ground and in the yard. He started pounding the zone more. I think it was Sam Brain who mentioned that ERC actually started throwing harder down the stretch, which is really encouraging. He blew past his career high in innings pitched this past season, and we didn't see that wear down and stuff that you usually see for certain guys, or even a wear down in command. He actually got better at everything down the stretch. Really, I am fascinated by where ERC is going to be at to start 2026. We'll know he'll be in AAA, but how close do the Yankees think he is? He got to AAA, got a taste of AAA, got knocked around a little bit in the postseason, which I actually think is helpful for him. I think it's good to get there and throw that new ball and struggle a little bit. This offseason's a big one because he's still very wiry. You feel like there's still a frame for him to fill into. For some guys, it takes a while. Cam Schlittler, for example, added significant weight over the offseason. You can see a clear physical difference, not just between him now and him in college, but him now and him last year and at the end of last year. Can we see a physical leap for ERC, who just wrapped up his age 21 season? I believe he just turned 22 over the summer. Can he make that leap entering what will be his age 22 to 23 season? If we can see that, Chris, I think we're looking at somebody who can be really special for this rotation. I'm not going to sit here and call him an ace. I think that when I want to throw the ace label on somebody who's either a prospect or just wrapped up their rookie season, I'm eyeing stuff, and I'm eyeing like how dominant that stuff is. Schlittler has it. It's very rare for me to label that on somebody. That just goes to show how good Schlittler is. Cruz, to me, looks more like that number 3 starter for your playoff team. And if you want to tell me that I'm going to get a good number 3 starter on a playoff team for pre-arbitration or arbitration salary, that's not just a win. That's I don't have enough thumbs for how many wins that would be for the New York Yankees. Chris, what is your outlook on ERC in terms of potential upside, floor versus ceiling there?
I think he's a 2 or a 3. I'm curious to see kind of where his fastball sits next year, because I know that the goal is going to be to add some weight to him. And when that happens, usually you see a little bit of an uptick in velo. So I'm just curious to see it, and especially because it felt like, similarly to Cam, the longer the season went, it felt like the Yankees pitching staff was able to optimize kind of his mechanics to create an uptick in velo. So if he can sit around 96, 97-ish, which I know would be pretty significant, that would, I think, elevate him to me as like a high end too, because I think, to kind of piggyback off what you said, his fastball's in good shape. He's got a unique arm slot and he's got good shape. So I think he's probably a 2 or a 3. But I think he's a guy that honestly, if down the road you tell me that he, is making 25, 30 starts a year and the ERA is 3.5 to 3.7, I'd be like, oh yeah, the guy, yeah, doesn't surprise me one bit. So I'm excited for him. I do think he's got some pitchability stuff to keep tacking on innings, because he does have, I believe, at least 4 or 5 playable pitches at the next level. I am curious to see how soon he gets up to the major leagues, because next year, at least in spring training, they should have a pitcher slot available unless they sign one in free, unless they import one. So I'm excited about it, man. I mean, you and I are probably presidents of the Elmer Rodriguez-Cruz fan club. I'm obsessed with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think unlike the hitter one, where I think Spencer Jones very clearly won that award and was the guy, and no one came close, really. George Lombard Jr., there were things to take away from, but clearly didn't have the offensive year Jones had.
Bingo.
There was some competition here. This was not a clear-cut, just slap it on him in the sense of there were some guys that I felt bad for not giving this award to. Cruz clearly did deserve it, but I felt bad that Carlos Legrand, he might have won this award last year.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Schlittler didn't pitch much in the minors, or at least as much as we thought he would, but he was so darn good on a start-to-start basis that he did deserve consideration here. There's another award I considered him for, but I've decided that I've talked about him so much that I'm going to keep it inside the guys who stayed prospects throughout the year. Is there anyone else on your radar outside of those two that you wanted to shout out?
I want to give Bryce Cunningham some love. I like Bryce a lot. I think he's a bulldog. I mean, I believe he made 11 starts to a 2.82 ERA. Didn't have the innings, but had 55 Ks and I believe 53 innings or 54 innings. So I like Bryce a lot. I just wanted to kind of bring him up because I'm excited about kind of his upside because he does have kind of the things that I look for and like, but obviously didn't pitch enough volume to be considered for pitcher of the year in minor leagues.
Yeah, and I also want to throw one more shout out. Griffin Herring got traded at the deadline.
Yeah, Griff did get traded.
Who, if he had spent the year here, may have been in very serious consideration. He might have been the guy who made the 2-level jump alongside Elmer Rodriguez Cruz. But, man, a really good year on the pitching side. It's awesome that we have so many pitchers we could talk about in this segment. We'll have some other conversations, hopefully, about pitchers later on in the episode. But, Chris, I think this is a good pivot point to end the conversation on Elmer Rodriguez Cruz and talk about the guy who I specifically made sure to not mention as an honorable mention for the pitching award, and that is for our freshman player of the year. Now, I'll explain this one because this one actually isn't self-explanatory. This is for players in the 2024 either draft class, international signing period, or UDFA. So undrafted free agents count in this as well. If you made your minor league debut in 2024 or 2025, you were considered for this. I also considered players who got drafted and played some time last year, like Brendan Jones and Dylan Lewis, but they were considered freshmen, but they didn't end up winning it. It was Ben Hess. I went with Ben Hess. I thought Ben Hess was the guy who wall-to-wall had the best overall year. He was obviously in consideration for pitcher of the year. He struck out a third of batters faced this year. We saw the walk rate decrease as the year went on. He got better after he made a level jump. Chris, can you talk to me a little bit about what you saw from Ben Hess this year and why he ended up getting this award?
I mean, first of all, frame-wise, you want to talk about, pitching presence on the mound. I mean, I believe, 6'5", 260, I think is what he's up to right now. A big presence on the mound and is able to kind of pitch deep into games. Opponent batting average, Ryan, 177 against. We're talking about somebody who got a lot of strikeouts and missed bats. I mean, he was good all year. I think that he's a guy that projects really well. I think honestly, next year, how many levels does he hit?
I think it's possible that Ben Hess is a big leaguer at the end of the year.
He definitely, the thing, I think Elmer Rodriguez Cruz is further along. But the thing I can acknowledge with Ben Hess right now is that he's got the body type and the pitching style that could fly up in the major leagues really quickly. You worry less about his overall development because he feels physically already there. I like Ben Hess a lot. This, to me, was another obvious answer. I did, steal Bryce Cunningham for my honorable mention. He would have been a guy who I believe was in this, category as well. Had a slightly better ERA, but definitely, pitched less and obviously at a different level. But no, Ben Hess was fantastic, dog. Was fantastic all year.
And one thing I want to talk about with Ben Hess and shout out, and this was maybe the most impressive thing to me, he did such a good job from where he was at the end of his Alabama time to the start of the 2025 season. His weight, his body composition, much better. His command, much better. He's a better mover. He's a better athlete. He talked about it and, losing weight and making that transformation to be a more athletic pitcher, but he didn't do too much either. I think pitchers can lose too much weight. I think that's definitely possible. Mm-hmm. I don't want my quarterback to do this. I don't want my quarterback and I don't want my starting pitcher to look like a track runner.
Bingo.
I don't. I want you need to have a little thickness.
CC.
Yeah. Look, people always repost the photos of Patrick Mahomes in the offseason or whenever he doesn't have a shirt on, and it's I need him to have a little bit of thickness. He's going to get hit. I need that. That's what you need to have a little bit on you. Just a
Yeah,
little bit. I'm not
that's
saying,
why I never got mad about like the Rodon when he gained some weight
Right.
in the offseason. Like I didn't worry about Sevy. Like I didn't worry when guys got a little bit thicker. I don't mind when pitchers are a little thicker. I'm cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because Rodon's such a good comparison to make here, where there was a line between 2023 coming back hurt, maybe not being as good of a mover as you need to be, not being as nimble, and then 2024 he comes back, and it's not that Rodon was razor thin, but you just noticed he moved a little better.
Yeah.
That's all. Sometimes it's just that visual of, oh, he moves better. He's still got a little on him, and that's good. I need that. Fried is kind of an outlier in this regard. Fried sticks out as a pitcher because he's so thin and long and wiry. It's an outlier thing. I kind of want to shout out another guy, too, who has that, like, Ben Hess body. Jordan Montgomery and Ben Hess are very similar body types.
There
I know
you go.
one's a lefty and the other is a righty, but the thing that I love about these kinds of pitchers is workhorses, innings. You're going to get innings out of these guys, and there's more ceiling for velocity. Hess, we saw more 96, 97 towards the end of the year. He had like this month-long absence in between while he was in high A, and he comes back, and his command was more dialed. He was throwing a little bit harder. The release, I don't know if you know how much ride he has on his fastball, but I think it was publicly reported at like 18 or 19 inches of induced vertical break, and it's a 5.2, 5.3 release.
Jeez.
It's disgusting. It is
Ryan,
disgusting.
what?
That fastball, I think that fastball is absolutely disgusting. It is one of the more outlier pitches out there.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm not sure the reliability of release height data at that level. But
Okay, that's fair.
I'm imagining it's not a matter of, oh, they're completely off base. This is a low release. I'm going to get the exact numbers here. Excuse me, it was a 5.6 release. I'm sorry. I said 5.2. 5.6 release, 6.7 feet of extension, and it was 19 inches of reduced vertical break. Those are the reported numbers.
That's kind of I don't think a lot of people realize how disgusting that is.
That is elite. That is double plus shape. Double plus.
Do you think he's gonna end up over the next? Because here we go. When he left Bama, he was hitting. He reportedly peaked out at just over 99 at Alabama. Do you think he's gonna get that back, or do you think that kind of velo maybe is tucked away because obviously in the minors he's gonna pitch far more innings?
I'm gonna be honest. I think that the goal for Hess should be getting back to that point. Can we get that velocity back? Can we top out there? Because we have to also remember the space in the rotation. Sometimes guys have to come up and just be out of the bullpen for a little bit. I need to still have that in the tank. I also want to mention his secondaries, I think, can be better than people think. The curveball was his signature breaking ball, and it's kind of hard to be a curveball first secondary guy in the big leagues. It's usually slider or sweeper, changeups, or sometimes that pitch. He did develop a pretty good changeup, 5 inches of induced vertical break. That's 14 inches of separation, 17 arm side. That's just disgusting.
I remember scouts didn't think that changeup would be playable after a little bit. So
well, the Yankees, again, they do such a good job with these changeups. It makes you wonder when if they get Cam to throw that changeup that they've been getting guys to throw.
That's what I'm saying, dude. He's the one, man. If they add something like that to him, it's going to be disgusting.
It will be. And again, with Ben Hess, he had that changeup going for him. We saw it throughout the year. I thought he was a very deserving winner. This didn't feel like a weak winner because there were some really good other guys to mention. Cunningham falls into this category. Dylan Lewis had 2020 year. Brendan Jones made a jump from high to double A and got better in double A. I think he stole around 40 I think he stole over 40 bases. 50. He stole 50 bases this year. So a lot of really good players to pick from. Ben Hess, I think, just rose to the top, had the combination of volume and effectiveness throughout the year. Chris, any final thoughts on Hess?
No, but I do want to give a shout out to kind of how this Yankees farm looks right now. I know that it doesn't get talked about enough, but like there's some like giant borderline freaks. I mean, you're talking about Ben Hess 6'5", Bryce Cunningham 6'5", Spencer Jones 6'7", even like Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, who a lot of people think is really small. He's up above 6'3". So like we're talking about like some really big. I mean, LeGrand, 6'7". Like we're talking about some really big, powerful freaks. And Cam Stiller 6'6". So like I love that this Yankees farm is filled with giants. That matters to me. I don't know if you have a stance on any of that.
No, I agree. I think having physical outliers is important. This is good because I wanted to shout out one more guy who made his minor league debut with the Yankees this year, although he's a 2023 draft class guy, but he missed 2024 to injury. Xavier Rivas, 6'4", 235, big dude, big-time changeup. He struck out 31.3% of batters faced in 19 appearances, 3.38 ERA. Struck out 38.9% of batters faced after moving up from single A to high A. The velo is not where you want it to be for a guy that big, but I think post-TJS coming back in the middle of the year, I think there's some serious upside if the fastball is there because the changeup is disgusting. It's a Bugs Bunny changeup. But
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, it is. And we can stay on the same note of physical specimens because the biggest breakout, the pick I had here was Carlos Lagrange, who, I mean, Chris, a year ago was, wow, he's hurt all the time. He didn't look good in single A. The fastball movement isn't good at all. This isn't a guy that you cling on to. This is a guy that you look at as another dude in your system. And he popped off. He had an incredible year, finished second in the minor leagues in strikeouts in the Yankee organization with 168. I believe he was top 5 in total pitching strikeouts this past year. Just a swing and miss machine. The fastball velocity, he sat at 98 miles per hour. I'm going to read you the specs of this pitch, and I think you're going to you're going to geek a little bit when you see it. It's a 40-degree arm angle, so it's a little bit lower than the right-handed average. 18 inches induced vertical break. 114 stuff plus. Baseball America had him as the second best stuff plus for any minor league pitcher.
Dude, that's a stuff monster. And, I didn't have the numbers, but you can see it sometimes when he really gets going and he kind of, has that kind of shrug strut off the mound. I feel like what Spencer Jones was for the hitter version, I think he was for the pitcher version. You see the tools, you see the traits. It's just can he figure it out? And he needed this big year. And I knew that he had a real shot because I believe one of his final starts in high A, he had the 9 strikeouts and 0 walks. And that's what it was, right? That was the thing that was going to hinder him the whole way. I feel like he did take maybe a little bit off his fastball, but just a monster. What did his fastball average at the end of last year, Ryan, if you know?
I think it was around 96 to 97 miles per hour.
And we know he can hit 102, right?
What's up?
We know he hit, 102 earlier in the year?
Oh, he hit 103.
103. Excuse the heck out of me.
Sorry, let's correct that. 103, let's go.
Nuts, dude. Again, the big specimens, the freaks. He's a guy that you and I have talked about. I think if he ends up being a bullpen arm, that would be sensational. Obviously, starters, that's where the value is. But he's a guy that I'll never forget this. The full game I watched in Somerset where they started Luis Gil and then went to him right afterwards. And hitters looked more overpowered and more lost against him than they did Luis Gil. And by the way, Luis Gil's going to, pitch in the postseason for the New York Yankees.
I got to say this about Lagrange, and I don't know if I'm going to hype people up too much, but I don't care. I don't. Lagrange has the type of stuff that I would put the label of, yes, if he throws more strikes, ace.
Yeah.
Ace. I said a little bit earlier at Cruz where I described him more as the ideal outcome. The realistically ideal outcome if he makes certain strides is a really good 3-2 kind of starter, gets the ball, gives you 30 starts a year, is a very productive starter for your staff. Never really the guy you want in game one. Lagrange, is very different. It is, the floor is a lot lower because I think Cruz is a higher chance of becoming a starting pitcher. But when we talk about a guy who sits 98.3, blew past his innings limit doing this, by the way. 18 inches of run. This is a Garrett Cole fastball. This is the Garrett Cole fastball. That's
they don't want to hear
that.
that.
The Garrett Cole fastball. At its peak powers. At the peak of the peakiest peak. The Houston Astros first-year Garrett Cole with the Yankees kind of fastball. That is freakish. That is disgusting. That's the kind of pitch that it doesn't matter at what level you throw it at. It's going to be effective. The questions I have are secondary stuff. Because the breaking balls, I think the movement could get better. The changeup's actually the pitch I think I feel the most confident with that isn't a fastball. He had a 25% swinging strike rate on his changeup this year, and he sat 90.1 with it. So there's enough velocity separation, but if you see, it just kind of like dives. It kind of falls off the table. It's a really disgusting pitch. The sweeper I like the sweeper, but it's 83. Like, you kind of want that harder breaking ball to go with it.
I don't like the sweeper.
You don't want that.
I don't want the sweeper.
Okay. I hear you.
I don't want the sweeper.
I want to hear. Go ahead.
Well, my belief is when you're a guy that's like elite velo, I think the more effective pitch is the tighter slider that you can throw really hard, because if it doesn't get the swing and miss, it's going to get the softer contact. I believe that the sweeper just opens up hitters and speeds bats up a little bit. So I would just like look to avoid the sweeper. I think that some of the powerful arms in the sport, I think that's why they kind of go away from the sweepers. Like we saw, Cam Stiller has a sweeper in the tank. It's not great. It is an interesting pitch, but he was his very best when he throws that cutter that I think is a slider, really. So I think guys that like use, here we go, build your pitch mix around your velocity. Don't take stuff off of your velocity just to say you throw a sweeper. So I am anti-sweeper for him moving forward, but that's just a Chris Drew philosophy thing.
No, I agree, because what I was going to say was his hardest breaking ball is a slider at 86. That's 4 inches IVB, 5 inches lateral movement. So it's not a hard slider, but it's a gyro slider. It's going to drop and it's going to not do too much in terms of movement. It had the higher swinging strike rate than his sweeper did this past season, 18% versus 15%. I think what I would like to see him do is, and the Yankees are really good at this, he seems to be able to get it. I think he can get around the ball both towards righties and away from righties pretty well. If you take whatever his four-seam grip is, if it's something very, I mean, my hands actually, I'm not able to grip a four-seamer that comfortably, but if it's something like this, and you just if you want to just throw a slider, just shift it here, just get behind it, and just throw it as hard as you can, try and get that gyro spin. Maybe it's a cutter, maybe it's a slider, see where it goes. I don't care where it goes. Yeah.
Get around it, yeah.
Yep. And then for the sinker, you just try and play with the seams until you get something that moves more into guys. I don't want him overly pronating, overly getting around the ball, because then we start messing up with release points, and I know he's someone where his command and his feel are going to go away a lot quicker. But what they did with Schlittler is so encouraging, because I felt like Schlittler couldn't move the ball in one direction. You can only move the ball in the other direction. I think LaGrange can move the ball in both directions. I'm using both pronunciations here. I'm gonna be wrong on one of them and right on one. So I figured to use both.
I was gonna ask you. I say LaGrange, and then I heard you say LaGrange, and I'm like, okay, like Ryan is really well versed. He listens a lot, but I watch almost every Somerset AA game, and on the AA broadcast, Somerset broadcast, they say LaGrange.
I'm going to assume it's LaGrange then. I'm going to be honest. The one thing I can never get down, I will watch tons of film. I'll study everything. I can't get pronunciations down. I just can't.
Me either. That's
the one thing. I can't do it. So you can rely on me for everything but pronunciations. Everything but pronunciations I'm pretty good with.
I did know that like in single A, the broadcast called him LaGrange.
Right, which is, that's kind of the issue. I don't know who's right or wrong. And, on one hand, you can say, well, the high A guys, they had media day with him and everything, where it's like, well, yeah, but in Double A, they're closer. They're literally they're closer both physically to the Yankees and literally to the Yankees in terms of figuratively and literally in both regards. So I'm not sure what the pronunciation is. I'm sure I'll get a comment that clears it up, and I'll get comments that say one is right and the other is right, and we'll read through both of them, I guess.
I mean, we can honestly just pick a side now. If you go,
I'm going to say LaGrange. Let's put it with LaGrange.
Okay. Are we both on the same side, or do we want to have?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right.
Because I think a consistent pronunciation is better than what I've been doing, which is fumbling over both. So, where my conclusion here, I don't care how his name is said. I just want to say it the way he wants it said. And oh my God, is this guy a stuffed monster? And he's not close to a finished product. He's not close to a finished product, but there's a lot to like in what he could be. Because I think Vila, as you mentioned, it's a lot easier to go, hey, just throw a shitty sinker or just throw a shitty cutter than it is to go, hey, man, we need you to locate your sweeper well, locate the changeup. You got to throw 2 sliders. Like, it's way easier to work with the prospect where it's like, yeah, man, just throw it hard and move the ball. That's all I care about, and throw enough strikes where it can work. Chris, any final notes?
No, Velo wins, and he's a guy that I think could be a bullpen arm or a starter at some point. And in comparison to Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, like he's got definitely the higher ceiling, but the much lower floor. I feel pretty comfortable saying that like Elmer Rodriguez Cruz is going to last in the MLB for a long time
I
because I think the
agree.
floor is so high.
And I'll also say this with LaGrange to give my final point here, because I had this thought as you were talking. It was, I don't want people to be disappointed if the outcome's a reliever. I really don't, because I think that that outcome is an outcome where we're talking about one of the most dominant relievers in the game.
And can I add to that?
Go ahead, please.
A cheap reliever with control, and I think he could be in the pen as soon as next year.
Yeah.
Like if you choose to go that route, because I mean, bullpen arms take less development.
Yeah. I agree. And also, again, it's so easy for people to dumb down what is or is not a successful player or a successful prospect. And I think people are so arrogant with what that looks like. They're so arrogant with what that looks like. But I think the most fun segment to talk about is the next one because, well, maybe it's not. Maybe that's subjective. But I think for me, this is the most fun because
No, you're right. No, you're right.
there's more variance here versus with the other ones. I actually filled out my picks first to kind of give you guys the behind the scenes, and Chris then looked it over, and he was struggling because he's looking and he's like, I want to pick different ones. I can't pick different ones. Where am I going to get some variety here? Jesus. And we finally have some semblance of variety here. Breakout or your pick to click for 26. That rhymed, so that's why I picked it.
No, I think we might have the same player, but we do have the same player. But I really like Dylan Lewis.
Yeah. And where this is fun is we're a lot of players to shout out here, I think, because there's a lot of guys where it's like they're on the precipice. Talk to me about Dylan Lewis, though.
So Dylan Lewis, honestly, like he's a guy that like we like exit velo numbers, right? Like if you hit the ball hard, you will catch my attention. And I know people are frustrated kind of sometimes by like the average, but he had some exit velo numbers that were absolutely through the roof over the last year, and contact with some power in an outfield spot, like that matters to me. I think he could go on a ridiculous tear next year. Like he's a guy that I expect fully to play in Double-A next year. I don't know where you're at with him, but I expect him to play in Double-A and to have some very, very loud, explosive contact. And it felt like the last month of the year, it was starting to really come into place for him. I'm very, very high on Dylan Lewis, and I think next year it would not surprise me at all if he ended up kind of sneaking into that, top 15 range, top 10 range for Yankees prospects, especially with some of the graduations that are going to happen as well. So I'm very, very high on Dylan Lewis.
I've got to say with Dylan Lewis, what excited me the most was, as you mentioned, the power is really good, but number two there, jumps up a level, strikeout rate and contact rate both improve.
Bingo.
That's a win. Those are wins.
Bingo.
You move up a level and the contact and strikeout rates improve. Those are wins. He hits the ball really hard. I think he topped out at 113.9.
Yeah.
I got to personally watch him in Hudson Valley, and he went off this day, and I don't believe you should evaluate a player on their best days or their worst days, because if you do that, you're going to skew yourself too far in one direction. But when he's red hot, when he's going off, the ball explodes off his bat. It explodes off his bat. It's rockets into the gap. The pull side power is really good. He's an incredibly good runner. He's a really good athlete. I think he could stick in center as well. That is an exciting part of this guy's game, the fact that he might be able to stick in center field, because it's very rare that guys can do it. If you look at the assembly of center field prospects and guys who played center field in the minor leagues and how many of them become center fielders in the big leagues, it's not a high percentage of players. Mm-hmm. Judge was a center fielder. People forget Judge was a center fielder throughout his minor league career.
So is Jason.
Yeah. I would like to give even another example. I think this one's pretty fun. Stan played some center field early in his major league career.
Did.
There was some center field reps for him.
There was some center for Stan.
There.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for everyone, but I think Lewis can do it. He has mobility. He has the speed. If he has sharp route running, if he makes good jumps, if the more nuanced aspects of defense, not just your raw physical tools, are there, he will be a center fielder. That's how good of an athlete he is, in my opinion.
6'3", 205, probably has the frame to get up to like 6'3", 210, 215. And if you add that kind of weight, I mean, you're legit talking about like kind of a muscle monster that's going to spray some ridiculous exit velos. I'm really high on Dylan, really excited for him. And I think next year we're going to be hearing his name a lot. I mean, similarly, like we heard Rock Riggio's name a ton. Now I'm like Brendan Jones, a ton. That's your guy. So like, I think he's going to kind of elevate himself into that tier of minor leaguers next year.
And to give you guys some clarity here, Rock Riggio, in his first year with the Yankees, was 24. He didn't cross the 20 home run threshold. Then he just exploded. I think within 3 weeks, he crushed his 2024 home run total. Sometimes you play a year, and then year 2 is even better. Schlittler, year 1 with the Yankees, who heard of him? Year 2, now, not that he became a guy, but he started becoming someone you pay attention to a little bit more. I kind of wanted to throw this comp out here because he kind of reminds me of this player. What we saw from Joe Adell this past year, I think it was a 26.4% strikeout rate. Not a high OBP. Lewis strikes me as more of an aggressive hitter, but 37 home runs. He's 6'2", 215, or listed as that on Fangraphs. The power and the swing, kind of the way they're successful is very similar. Yeah, I think Lewis, the swing and the chase is going to be there, the swing and miss is going to be there, but I don't think that's an issue if he's hitting home runs the rate that I think he can hit home runs and also hit doubles that as well. I don't want to take away that part of his game, and he's a better base runner than Adell too, so I think that helps him there. Now, another guy I think that we got to talk about, who we've referenced a few times actually, because I'm going to mention the guy who I have on the dock, I'm going to leave for last. Bryce Cunningham. Bryce Cunningham, it's not that he had a bad year, but it wasn't the kind of year where you feel like that's the best it gets. I think it gets better for Bryce Cunningham. In fact, I think a healthy offseason, I think even though he's getting lit up right now in the AFL, LaGrange was not good in the AFL last year. He walked everybody, and it was good, valuable experience to just get your inning count out, work on a few things. Cunningham, I think that next year is a year where he can be one of the Yankees' top 5 or 6 prospects once again.
Yeah, well, I mean, where are you at with Cunningham? Like, what do you want to see him improve upon? Because I thought he was pretty decent last year whenever I watched him.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Going into the year, I believed that Cunningham was their 3rd best prospect on paper. Going into the year, I'm very high on him. I think the build, he's a pitcher's pitcher. Even more so than Ben Hess, where I like Ben Hess's build, but Cunningham, there's a little more height. I saw him in the spring breakout game touch 98 miles per hour. There's more zip on the fastball. There's just a little more juice to it. I think he's underslotted with Hess to get Cunningham. So they took what they perceived to be, quote-unquote, not as good of a first-rounder to land Bryce Cunningham. The changeup's really good. He's got a curveball and a slider. I'd like to see the breaking balls improve, but the fastball is where I'm really excited, and I'm hoping we can see some serious growth there to see him go from someone who was good last year but not great to great and a top 5 prospect in the organization.
And he's a little younger than Ben right now, too. So
yes.
They should both be in Double-A together, though, I would assume.
I hope he starts the year in Double-A. The changeup is so good, too, that I love a good changeup. I just do. If you throw a good changeup, you can miss bats against lefties and righties. Good changeup, good fastball. Again, it's the sharpening of the secondaries. If you have sharp secondary pitches, when you got already the fastball, changeup, you have that foundation there. Very hard for you not to be a productive pitcher. It's hard. And Cunningham, I thought the command pre-injury was really good. Post-injury, not so much, but that makes sense. When you come back from injury, usually your command's not there. He pounds the zone, man. He's an aggressive strike thrower. I really, really like Cunningham, dude. I really do. I loved him going into the year, and I was almost disappointed in his year because he was good, not great. I think there's that upside for him to truly be great. Not saying his year stunk or whatever, but I really believe he can be their 1.1 pitching prospect.
Well, that's good. I mean, if this is a guy that you're like hoping that it clicks, and like we think he's got better stuff than what he put on in minors last year to when he had a sub-3 ERA, it's like, oh shoot, like you believe that this kid could be the real freaking deal.
Yeah, the real deal for sure. And again, physical, 6'5", big but strong. He's built like an ox. He's definitely built like more solidly than Ben Hess. He's got tree trunks. That's what he's got. It's tree trunks, and it's a good way in terms of how his limbs look. And I'm really excited again for his 2026 year.
Can I float one more name out here real quick?
Oh, go ahead, please.
I think that he'll be back after the first month of the year. Chase Hampton. I'm just hopeful about Chase. I like Chase's stuff a lot. I'm just hopeful.
Another TGS guy I want to shout out is Thatcher Hurd, LSU. Good zip on the fastball, good stuff, really good breaking balls. Very, very much a guy who actually in college, there was a point in time where people thought he would transfer to LSU and become a first-round pick. That didn't happen for him, but I think the Yankees can transform him into the player that LSU hopefully hoped they would get when he transferred there. The guy I think is the obvious pick to click this is kind of the category that was built for him, Dax Kilby.
Bingo.
Dax Kilby, I will say, look, first-round picks, you expect first-round picks to become some of the better prospects in your organization. That's how that works. But I don't think anyone thought Dax Kilby would hit the ball as hard as he does, I didn't even think people thought he'd make this much contact. He looked like the best hitter. Once he stepped foot in single A, he was the best hitter at that level from that point to the end of the year. That's my opinion. I know that opinions, you can have a lot of them, but he's 18. He was a lot younger than the people playing with him. That league got infused with a lot of college players as soon as he stepped on the field, and I thought he was better than all of them.
Contact monster. I give him credit for being a far better athlete than I think most people do. And the exit velo numbers as an 18-year-old, I mean, they would have been impressive for a 20-year-old. And he's 18 with 2 years. Like, dog, I think he's going to be really, really good. Like, that's my favorite hit tool in the entire org, Ryan.
I don't know the last time they've had a guy with that good of a hit tool, or at least the early signs.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't strike out.
Yeah, and I know people are going to say, well, Volpe had we're just talking about hit tool.
Just hit tool.
Just the ability to make contact and hit for average. Kilby, I think, he might be the best in quite some time. It's been a while since they've had a guy with just that good of a raw bat-to-ball ability. Yeah. And I don't think he's a guy who's going to fall susceptible to high velocity or is going to reach high A and stop being able to make contact. He had a near 89% zone contact rate as a first-year, 18-year-old playing in single A against a bunch of college dudes. These are either college dudes or guys who have played minor league ball before. All of these guys are supposed to be better than him. All of them. They're all supposed to be better than this guy. That is why they went to college. That's why they were in the minor leagues beforehand. That they're supposed to be farther ahead. They are. 11.1% chase rate. Granted, he didn't swing in zone very often, but when he did, he had loud contact. 91.9 mile per hour average exit velocity. He hit a ball 109 miles per hour. This is a guy who was 18. He had zero development with the Yankees. He got splashed into the hemisphere with the Yankees and thrown into the fire.
Going 109 as an 18-year-old, people don't know how ridiculous that is.
If Dax Kilby adds any sort of muscle or has any sort of improvement physically in terms of the power department, watch out, man.
Yeah.
Watch out. This dude could be a monster. He's 6'2", 190. I feel like there's room to grow. There's room to grow. There really is.
That is 6'3 and a half, 210.
And if he's already hitting the ball this hard then,
dude, and what's the trade-off, Ryan? It's like everything in life is a trade-off. Guys who swing the bat harder tend to sometimes have some swing and miss stuff because you lose the barrel control. And that's the trade-off to exit velo. But he, as an 18-year-old, has the high contact tool, but can hit a ball 109 as an 18. People don't understand how lucky the Yankees may have gotten that he slid to where they were.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest, man. I don't think when you get stronger and you add bat speed, it's not like he's got to add. It's not like Dax Kilby has to actively work harder to hit the ball hard. He just needs to gain weight because he's 6'2", 190, and he's 18, and he's likely going to keep growing. And that's something he needs. When you grow, you probably want to get stronger as well. I mean, he doesn't need to force it. That's kind of the thing. I don't think the Yankees need to have him sit down and go, hey, we need to alter your mindset at the plate. It's just, hey, we need to get you stronger. We just need to get you bigger because guys in front of you are going to throw hard, or guys ahead of you are going to throw harder. You're going to face better pitching. You need to have the bat speed to get your bat head to whatever ball you're trying to swing at. He just makes so much contact, man. He makes so much contact. He hits the ball so freakishly hard for a guy who's 18 and makes that much contact. We could get to a point where we're looking at somebody who has a potential 110 max EV, 111, 112. I don't know why I said 110. 111, 112. That with the average EV, the consistency of the tight grouping of exit velos, I'm really excited about him, Chris. Any more guys you want to shout out?
I just want to ask you defensively, where do you think he falls? Right. Some people think he'll end up being a left fielder. Some people think second base. I know where you're at with him.
I think third is the more natural position for what we're describing in terms of physical growth. He moves well. He's a good runner. But I think if you think a guy is a bad defensive shortstop, you probably want to put him at third, where more arm, fine-tune, just hand-eye coordination. Second is very rangy. Not that you want your shortstops to play second, but usually your second baseman, a really good defensive second baseman, can stick at shortstop at the big league level for a little bit.
Would you flirt with first for him?
That's an interesting question. I would prefer if he doesn't have to be a first baseman, just because that's not like the defensive value is limited at that point in time.
Okay.
I'd prefer if it was even center field would be nice. I don't think it should be ruled out to have him in center field. If you're going to try him in left field, try him in center field. Because if you're trying a young player out in an outfield position or an infield position, it should be center, short, or third, maybe second, depending on their body composition.
Yeah.
I think you try them at the tough spots, and then if they really can't handle it, you move them to the easier spots. Jason, we referenced Jason Dominguez. The Yankees did not think he could play center field or did not believe he was going to be a good defensive center fielder from like 2021. So it's not like they went into it going, we're going to move you to right field because we don't think you're going to play center field in the big leagues. No, we're going to keep getting you these difficult defensive reps. Hopefully, when you transition to a corner spot, it's a little more of an easier process. Granted, left field at Yankee Stadium, not as forgiving as some other left fields would be, like Fenway or Houston, or even right field at Yankee Stadium, a position that's occupied by Aaron Judge right now. But I think Kilby, I think the dream is either center field or third base if he moves off shortstop.
Okay.
That's the dream for me.
I'm curious. Hyper-competitive kid, though. Hyper-competitive kid. So I'm wondering how he's going to take to some of this defensive stuff.
I think the Yankees are going to keep him at shortstop for now.
Yeah, as they should. As they should.
I'd be pretty stunned if they moved him off this early. It feels just premature. It feels just like, as we mentioned with Jason, it would just feel like you're punting so early. Wells wasn't supposed to be a catcher as late as when he debuted. You want to look at Volpe? Volpe was listed as a second baseman on Fangraphs. They did not even give him the respect of listing him as a shortstop. So, yeah, I'm going to roll with he's young, he's 18. I think he can learn it.
I think Dax can grow into a serviceable shortstop. So, and I've told you that 100 times. I trust the athleticism, man. I think it's going to project really well.
The thing I will say is I am so confident that George Lombard Jr. is a good shortstop at the big league level, not just defensively, but overall that
it creates the roadblock.
He'll never get the chance.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, I just mean through the minor leagues. Like I think through minors.
I'm just saying at the big league level, though, he'll never get the chance. He'll never get the chance.
Like
George Lombard Jr. will never give him the chance to do it. That's the hope. That's the hope. That's what my belief is. Even if Lombard doesn't hit the way you'd hope he does, I think his glove is going to be that good. But we went an entire prospect episode without talking about him. This is kind of a big year for him too, because in 26, if he doesn't have a big year, that's going to be a big question mark. If he does, then he's going to push for either A, playing time that year, or 27, hey, I'm the starting shortstop. McMahon's in a walk year. Volpe's ARB too. Like, I want to be the starting shortstop. That's my job. Jazz a free agent. We don't know if he's coming back, all that kind of stuff. So, Chris, any final thoughts on the farm system and everything as a whole?
No, I just want to give you flowers for having range, doing a full, 51 minutes without Lombard. You're elite.
Hey, man, I do what I can.
You're good at your job.
I do what I can.
You're good at your craft. And then also, no mention of Caden Kent, who I'm excited about too. So
yeah, Caden Kent, good, versatile player. It's interesting. I was on Pinstripe territory, and Derek actually mentioned Kent as someone who to watch out for because of MLB lineage. And I agree. I like guys who they're the son of a big leaguer. They've been around baseball their whole life. Their dads have instilled in them, hey, this is what it took for me to get here. You got to work harder than that to get here now.
Yeah.
I like that. Sometimes it's easier to have that work ethic when you see it versus having to learn it as a young child, as a teenager, and you're just a teenager kid. It's very hard to develop these things.
Well, you know what it is, and I've talked to football people about this. It's the realizing it's not enough when your dad played in the NFL. Like getting to Ohio State is not enough when your dad is Martin Harrison Sr. Like getting to Double A is not enough if you're George Lombard Jr. and your dad played for the Tigers. Like it's just not enough for Cody Bellinger. Like getting to the big getting to the big leagues wasn't enough. Like my dad was a big leaguer, won a World Series. So like it's just the constant there's always someone to help you get further, because taking advice from people that aren't where you want to be is kind of what you get asked to do early on, and that doesn't happen with guys that have big league lineage. But he did struggle to hit the ball a little bit last year. But again, just dropped in.
We'll see how he kind of looks in high A next year. I think he's an important guy because of, again, the versatility. He can be a utility guy, I think. And the other thing I'd like to note with the MLB lineage thing, access. Access is kind of a big thing here. You're going to get access to some pretty good training and equipment. You're going to have former big leaguers so your dad knows and is going to help you and give you advice. I think that's the other really important part of it. And, of course, if your dad's a big leaguer, good chance he's probably doing well financially. Pretty low odds nowadays that you're a kid who's a prospect and your dad did poorly financially if you played a decent amount of time in the big leagues. So all those things play into it. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of Fireside Yankees. Enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys like, and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Talk to me about prospects you're really excited about, who you want to talk about and you want to give shout-outs to. And also, you guys can check out our website as well. That's empiresportsmedia.com, where you have written coverage on all of your favorite New York sports teams and a lot of minor league content that's on the website. I'd also like to shout out our social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Our personal Twitter accounts, I'm at Ryan Garcia ESM on Twitter. Chris is at Christopher Drew _ on Twitter. And you guys can also check out this video to my left here, because it's what YouTube is recommending you watch next. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.